Hello and welcome everybody to another StarCraft 2 cast by Glitch. Today I'm bringing to you a series of matches that I'm pretty darned excited for. I have got to say, spawning here in the bottom left corner as the blue Terran, we have Incredible Miracles MVP. Spawning here in the top right position as the red Terran, we have SlayerSMMA. So yes, we have two absolute gods of Korean Terran play battling it out here in Game 1 of the GeForce StarCraft 2 Pro-Am Tournament. So, this is going to be a best of 5 series, and I am going to be casting the entire series. I'm going to have to be doing some breaking up into parts because some of these games are longer than 15 minutes, and I do want to catch every single minute of these matches just because they are so good. Both of these players are so absolutely good, such amazing players, and come on, let's all be honest. TVT, probably the best mirror matchup you can get. I mean, Protoss versus Protoss tends to be a lot of kind of 4-gatey. Lots of 4 gates going on. Lots of gateway units just kind of clashing in the middle of the map until, you know, one person just happens to have a few more zealots and the other person just happens to have a few more stalkers and one person comes out ahead. Yeah, one person's got better force fields, etc., etc. And then of course Zerg versus Zerg. You've got that kind of back and forth, like, I've got Zerglings. Hey, but I've got Banelings. Yeah, but now I've got Banelings. Yeah, well, I've got Roaches. I have Infestors first. I win. So it's kind of, I don't know. I'm not trying to say that the matchups are boring, but Terran versus Terran is definitely the most dynamic. There are a lot of options in terms of what the players can go for. It's very common these days to see a lot of mech play. It used to just be Marine Siege Tank versus Marine Siege Tank, and then who can maintain air control, and then that was kind of that. But now, lately, we've been seeing all this amazing stuff from these Terran players, especially these Korean players that are favoring mech, especially favoring those Blue Flame Hellions to try to do a lot of damage, so basically negating the effect of the Marines. Basically, Marines just get destroyed by those Blue Flame Hellions. So there's a lot of Blue Flame Hellion play now coming into the TVT matchup. So let's jump right into this game from SlayerSMMA. We did see him go for 1 gas fairly early. He did throw down 1 barracks, and it looks like we do see a tech lab now coming down on that 1 barracks factory now being thrown up. So just like I said, it looks like we are going to be seeing some of that Blue Flame Hellion here from MVP. And actually, we have, before we get those Blue Flame Hellions coming out, it looks like we are going to produce 1 Reaper. And will MVP be able to scout it? He is in here. He does see this factory. He does see the barracks with the tech lab. He sees that the barracks is producing a unit. I bet he can guess from that he is going to be seeing some Reaper play here from MMA, just because, well, if you see a barracks with a tech lab this early, it's pretty much a solid bet that there is going to be a Reaper coming out, and I actually think he's actually going to be here to see the actual Reaper come out itself. And it looks like in the base of MVP we get a little bit of a variation here as yeah, we do have the Reaper out now and managed to pick off that SCV. In the base of MVP, we do see a little bit of variation from what MMA is doing. We've got 2 gas geysers that are currently down, though MMA does now have his 2nd gas geyser down. MVP got his 2nd geyser down a little bit faster, did not get a tech lab on this barracks, is producing a few Marines, and did go right for his factory, so he's going to have Hellions up much quicker than MMA. MMA, well, I don't know, maybe not, maybe I lied. There's already a Hellion at the door of MVP, but MVP does have all of these Marines in play. He did not go for that tech lab. He was just producing a lot of Marines out of there at the time. This factory is now up. He is going to be a little bit delayed on his Blue Flame Hellion. He started producing this Hellion just a little earlier than his opponent, but he is not going to be able to get that Blue Flame nearly as fast, and MMA is going to be up on the Blue Flame. As we can see on the production tab right now, we can see that Infernal Pre-Igniter is now being researched, so we are going to have Blue Flame very soon, and MMA continuing to produce more Hellions right now. We do also have a Starport now on the way for MMA. Starport already up here for MVP. He is now throwing a tech lab on it. Will he be producing a unit out of that, or will he just be swapping that to the factory to start getting that Blue Flame Hellion? I tend to think it looks like we do actually have a Banshee play here coming from MVP. MVP has actually kind of sacrificed a lot of resources into this to be able to produce this Banshee, and actually Banshee got canceled. There's a little bit of indecision there from MVP. MVP now moving out across the map now with these Blue Flame Hellions, but MMA's just got more Blue Flame Hellions here. He's going to be able, or not Blue Flame Hellions, regular old Hellions. I'm so used to seeing Blue Flame Hellions all the time now. It looks like there is going to be Blue Flame just now finishing up for MMA, and it looks like he is going to be able to pick off that last Hellion of MVPs before it gets into the base. I don't think he actually got to scout any information. No, he didn't get any scouting information. In the base of MMA, we can actually see that Viking production has started. Looks like MMA is going to be going for that critical air control in this matchup. Always important to have that air control, but we do have this one Banshee that is about to be done. Cloak is being researched, so MVP is going to have to go in. He's invested a lot of resources into getting this Banshee. He's going to have to deal a lot of damage if he's going to want to be able to do much with it. And he's going to have to be very, very careful, as there are 2 Vikings out on the way, and oh no, they are heading down the map. Will they scout this Banshee moving in? And yes, it looks like they are just barely going to scout it, and yes, they do scout that Banshee. They are going to be able to chase that Banshee down and take it out, and one more shot, and there it goes. The Banshee goes down, and what do we have here? From MMA, we're actually seeing a secret expansion here going down. He saw that MVP did not get any kind of scouting information into his base. He does not have map control. MMA is currently holding map control with these Hellions holding that ground control, and these 2 Vikings holding air control. And so MVP has no idea what's going on, so MMA is just going to throw down a command center at this gold expansion. MVP is going to have to do something about this if he's going to want to catch up to this. If he's going to want to be able to catch up to the economy. And are you kidding me? The Banshee from MVP actually going north. Looks like he's actually going to be trying to go all the way up and around the map, but it looks like in doing so, he's actually going to catch this command center now being built. And yes, MVP finally spots the command center, takes out the drone, and knows that MMA is building this command center here at the gold. He is now going to have to come apply some serious pressure or try to take a gold of his own. He could do that, but of course that is the less safe move to make as well. He then has to defend a gold expansion, and that is always difficult, especially because MMA just has so much map control right now. If you check out the map right now, you can see all these red dots all over the map. He's got vision all over the map. He even saw this Banshee coming with that command center and sent his Vikings out there to maintain that air control. Has a Raven up here to be able to deal with that Banshee with Cloak, and yeah, the Banshee goes down. That is a big loss there from MVP. MVP still actually producing Banshees. He's actually got more Banshees being produced right now, and I'm actually really surprised he's continuing to produce Banshees despite the fact that he does not have the critical air control that he needs to be able to use these Banshees if he really wants to do well with these Banshees. In the meantime, MMA is continuing to mass up a ton of Hellions. He's got a lot of Hellions right now on the units tab. We can see that there are currently 10 Hellions, 2 Vikings, and a Raven out for MVP. So MVP, or for MMA rather, MMA being very careful not to overproduce those Vikings. He definitely does not want to overproduce on those Vikings. One big battle here going on in the middle platooning. These Blue Flame Hellions, these siege tanks do not yet have that siege mode, or they do, but they are choosing not to siege there from MVP, and it looks like they do manage to pick up those Hellions. A lot of forces now coming in here for MVP, and this could be a deadly little push here for MMA to have to hold. These siege tanks are actually doing quite a bit of damage to these Hellions, but a lot of those Marines are getting roasted quite quickly. So by the time MVP gets up here to the front of MMA's base, he's going to need to siege up there real quick, but he's not going to have a whole lot of Marines here to help defend against this attack. There is one siege tank out here for MMA, but there are 4 siege tanks currently on the map for MVP, but they are actually following quite fast as MMA does have that high ground advantage there and was able to plant a lot of units up there on the high ground. MVP actually losing quite a bit of forces there. Now being forced to pull back. He is still a little bit ahead in the food count. We can see in the food count, 64 food to 56 food, so MVP is actually a little bit ahead, and he does have a Banshee that is out here harassing this expansion. He did manage to pick off. There were some SCVs mining there. 4 kills now for that Banshee. And it looks like MVP is going to continue to try to apply more pressure here. He knows he has prevented any more mining going on at that base. And now he looks like he's just going to sit out here at the back of MMA's base and see if he can't keep him contained to that one base while keeping this gold scouted with that Banshee. In the meantime, more forces streaming across the map here from MVP. MVP now taking an expansion of his own, getting a second orbital command, throwing down a ton of barracks right now. Still has 1 factory producing those siege tanks, 1 starport still producing Banshees, just now starting to get a little bit of Viking production going on, and just a lot more barracks now being produced. This is an interesting move here from MVP. He's going to try to hold airspace with these Marines. He's just spreading out his Marines right now very well. This is to try to reduce the damage done by those Blue Flame Hellions. He wants to minimize all the splash damage from those Hellions. So he's spreading his Marines out, and he's going to have to try to maintain air control by using these Marines to take out those Vikings. because right now he's definitely behind in the air control race. If we check out the units tab right now, we can see that he is still, MMA that is still up in the Viking count. MMA currently just still sitting at those 2 Vikings. He wants just enough to maintain air control. He so far has had nothing to contest him in air control. So he is keeping those 2 Vikings out until he sees more Vikings here from MVP. Once he sees that MVP is starting to produce Vikings, I'm sure we will see MMA going back to start to produce more Vikings to try to maintain that air control. But interesting move here by MMA. As long as he has that air control, he's going to try to abuse it by producing Banshees and deal a lot of damage that way while using this 1 barracks here for scouting information. And it looks like MVP is now being forced to pull back. Looks like he's going to try to take this Zelnaga watchtower, try to control the middle of the map while he gets this expansion saturated, and that is exactly what he is doing. If we check out the harvester count right now, we can see that MVP is actually quite a bit ahead, 36 to 30 on the harvesters, and so he's actually doing quite well in the harvester count. And wow, we actually have a big push here coming from MMA, able to catch all of these units off guard. A lot of blue flame Hellions there, able to pick off all those Marines and then these siege tanks plus the Hellions, able to clean up the last of MVP's siege tanks. Not a good position. MVP is now behind in the food count and does not have a whole lot out front of his base right now. He needs to get some bunkers up if he's going to want to be able to deal with those blue flame Hellions, because he's got a lot of Marines out here, a couple of Vikings out here, so he'll finally be able to contest that air control. But he's with only 2 siege tanks, he's going to have to be very, very careful here. Throw up some bunkers and get very, very defensive here. He does have 1 Banshee that he's now moving out. He's going to try to find where his opponent is, try to see if he can't find exactly where they are. There is 1 Banshee in the base of MMA right now, picking up a few kills, currently up to 11 kills. We do have that Sergeant Banshee out, but MVP actually getting out with this 1 cloaked Banshee, able to deal a lot of damage to these siege tanks, as, well, MMA just had nothing to counter any air units out here at the time. And it looks like MMA just now getting his Raven down here to the fight, so it looks like he's finally going to be able to fend off that Banshee. But that Banshee with already 2 siege tank kills is looking pretty good right now. It looks like he's going to come in here and try to do a little bit more harassment. Another Banshee still flying around for MVP. We have 1 Banshee now moving in for MMA. Looks like it was able to pick up a couple kills there, but was quickly taken out by all the Vikings. So we do have a pretty big Viking air battles going on in this matchup. This is kind of an interesting dynamic that we have going on right now, where ground control is currently being fairly well held here by MMA at the moment, despite losing. MVP losing his forces. MVP was actually ahead in the ground. I would have said, if you would have asked me 5 minutes ago, I would have said that MVP definitely has that ground control, but MMA able to pick off all those units off guard there at that Zelnaga watchtower was able to really get him ahead, and so now I would say that he is in the lead in that ground control. Note that that map vision on the map right now for MMA, doing so good at holding these 2 Zelnaga watchtowers, having units spread all over the map, Banshees flying all over the place, has very, very good map control right now. Excellent, excellent, excellent play here from MMA, and looks like he is gearing up to get ready to do a little bit of a push there. MVP doing a bit of a scan to try to find out exactly what the positioning of his opponent's army is, and it looks like he is moving out with a big force, and this is going to be one of those videos that's longer than 15 minutes, so I'm actually going to split this right here into part 2. Stay tuned, guys. Part 2 in a moment.